everyone, Violet here, and today we're going to talk about this upcoming Gemini full moon. So this video is going out on the Sunday right before the full moon is going to be on Monday. So yeah, if you're watching this live during the premiere, then it'll be tomorrow. And we'll also have these specific readings available at some point this next week. So definitely keep your notifications on for that if you want to get one for yourself individually. But this is going to be a collective reading for this full moon in general. And I actually see this as kind of a continuation from our Gemini new moon reading. So we're going to be using the air energy of the birds, and this is going to be kind of our main message in the middle of the spread. And then just like we were looking at with on the other side of the year, the new moon message, the Gemini new moon message, it was all about seeing these like different conflicting parts of ourselves and finding a way to kind of bridge the gap, or finding a path through that, like, okay, like both can be true and we can accept these things. And this is going to be a little bit more like looking at all of these different facets and sort of like pieces of ourselves, and how how this could create a lot of like confusion in the mind, and sometimes we can be pulled in lots of different directions. And this is all about creating like a synthesis in the middle together, and how can we kind of like allow all of these things to be true, even the parts of ourselves that like maybe we don't accept quite as much, and how can actually we see this all as part of like a mosaic of the whole, and in doing so how we can actually feel a lot more clear. So that is the intention with this reading. So we're going to be using, like I said, one of the Wing Enchantment Oracle cards for our main message, and then surrounding it we're going to actually just create like a chaos of cards, and we will be using the Tarot of the Divine to create this imagine it as like a windstorm or something. And yeah, it'll be kind of fun doing a spread that isn't so organized. So yes, happy almost full moon, and let's pull our cards. All right, we've got our cards pulled out, and I have not looked at this yet. Let's see what our main bird Gemini air message is to kind of create a unifying force and something to really focus on. It is the pelican. I had a feeling because this was kind of reminding me of the it feels connected to me with the Scorpio reading that we did. I had a feeling it was going to be a water bird. So it is. We've got the pelican here. So let's read our message from the pelican. The number is also 27, which would equal 9. So you can keep that in mind. Okay. Oh my gosh, just the first sentence already. I am pelican, the bridge of the head and the heart. So already we're talking about a bridge, and we're also, well, it makes sense because this is a water bird, but we're talking about the head, perhaps air, thoughts, and then the heart, which could also be, the emotions, water, love. So bridge between the head and the heart. I am careful observation. I am planning with room for negotiation. Two things that this already makes me think of. I am careful observation. It's like being honest with yourself about all of the different pieces of yourself, like seeing them for what they are, not just from your like sort of clouded or biased perspective, or like seeing something too close where you just like can't quite focus on it. And then planning with room for negotiation. This feels to me like something we brought up in our Scorpio new moon reading was that we have to leave room for imperfection. Like, we can plan all we want, but if we don't meet the standards of whatever our plan is that looks so perfect on paper, this is not a reason to sort of like be hard on ourselves, because that just kind of adds these negative layers. Okay, next it says, I am the skills you need to reach the goal at hand. I am unfettered determination. Once again, it's like that Scorpio new moon message of digging down deep and pulling out from the deeper parts of the well. I am the use of team dynamics. That makes me think too. I know every sentence of this, I'm like, oh, let's talk about it. It makes me think of all of the different cards that we're going to be looking at, and this idea of like, actually all of this works together as a team to make your like exactly unique recipe. I'm thinking of a soup. The soup that is you, that couldn't be anyone else, is an exact recipe. Yes. Okay. Your outlook is too heavy. Your viewpoint too restricted. What you require is a greater adaptability. I am the release of expectation. All of that feels like this sort of like getting rid of perfectionism. I am the effortless flow of one thing to another. So it isn't about the bullet points, it's about how one thing flows into the next. I am your need to let things unfold and take the best catch. You may have stepped in your own way. I certainly feel that. You may well be tripping over your own feet. That's also something that really came up in the new moon message. If you want to check it out, I know the Scorpio new moon has long passed when you get this, but if you didn't check out that message, it feels very related to this. And I had the idea of this spread like while doing that message, so it kind of makes sense. This is a continuation, and even if you don't, there's the train going by. If you don't recall that message, or just think to yourself back at where you were around like the second week of November, you know. Okay. You may have stepped in your own way. You may well be tripping over your own feet. Stay focused, but do not lose sight of the bigger picture. Perfect. You will always find what you need. You are positive and productive. You are effortless acquisition. You are abundant in resources. You are pelican. So this really makes me feel like it's saying like, you know, you are enough. This special soup recipe that you are, you're absolutely enough. And I wanted to start with this card because this is the card that came out face up, and it kind of landed in the place of this, however these got organized, of the King of Swords, and it's in reverse. And this did feel to me like an overthinking and a heaviness with this overthinking and overanalyzing and like judgment towards self, and also high expectations of self that aren't quite met, and then can create sort of a negative spiral. So I wanted to see the cards that came in touching this one, which are these three. Oh my gosh, this card has a hidden one underneath. Okay, so we'll see. Let's start at the top here. The Five of Wands. This feels like different energies competing and trying to like say like which one's gonna win out. It feels like the different forces perhaps within you that like are competing with each other rather than unifying and like synthesizing and being able to be used as a whole. We have the King of Cups. Oh, it's interesting because I feel like this is presenting like an alternative way of being. It's not that you have to lower expectations of yourself, because it's not about making yourself smaller. You know, you're still the king here. You're still the master. But in this way, this cups energy versus the swords in reverse, the cups is so much more nurturing, and it allows for flow, and it allows for cycle and change. It allows for your emotional state to be taken into account. It allows for wholeness rather than cutting things into little pieces and analyzing little pieces. It's like, just like what we're talking about with the spread, is like kind of allowing everything to kind of be a part of this cup, this like unified whole, this soup. Why? We should make some soup as we're listening to this. I'll try to remember when the premiere is happening. I'll be like, I'm going to be making soup that night while I listen back to this reading. Okay. And the next one that we have touching it is the World in reverse, and we have a card underneath it. This one was like directly underneath it, okay? Queen of Wands in reverse. This to me feels like something not completed. Something not completed in the past, and it was because of a lack of confidence. This Queen of Wands in reverse. It was left hanging because, and when I feel into it, it really brings me back to this idea of feeling highly critical of yourself. And maybe what it does is that actually takes a toll on your confidence. It takes a toll on your energy. And for that reason, there's something kind of like left unfinished. And once again, oh my gosh, how many times am I going to say that? Is that it reminds me of the Scorpio new moon reading, in that we're not starting something brand new here. We're kind of layering. You're in the process of layering things, like current things in your life versus things that maybe were abandoned in the past. And like, it's not about this like total new fresh start. It's about, once again, kind of bringing different threads together and creating a whole. Okay. So I kind of want to start going underneath these cards, going this direction and seeing like, what are some of these things? It also makes sense to go counterclockwise since it is a full moon and it's going to be going into a waning moon now. So let's go counterclockwise with this. And I feel like hopefully this is going to start to give us insight into maybe what some of the energy of this incompleted cycle might be. Ace of Coins. So this is something very tangible in your life. And I do actually, I kind of feel like it might be something you were starting to get into the works on the new moon. So it's, you're there. You've put down this like Ace of Coins. You're returning to something from the past, but you're also kind of like opening up space for it now. Okay, in some way, it could have been a small gesture towards it, but something tangible. Could be related to business, could be related to health. Health and business are like big things coming through to me. We have the 10 of Wands, and this was sort of like a bridge. Oops. This bottom card just fell on the floor, so we'll remember that. This is sort of a bridge going this way. Wow. The 10 of Wands is really interesting in this deck, isn't it? Because it's like growth coming out of death, essentially. But then also the meaning of 10 of Wands is also about feeling overburdened or overwhelmed. And I think it's reminding me of this energy here, which makes sense because this is, like 5 of Wands times 2 is this, of when you have so much on your mind and so many, and I feel like it's a competing of energy that ends up creating sort of the death of the actual heart, the heart or the essence of something. So it's like, because, and I just get the feeling that this might be different for different people, but with all of the different things that are being asked of you, or rather you're probably asking of yourself, different competing energies of things in your life and ways of being and modes of being within you. It's like there's something here, there's some sort of like passion or idea or drive, something, or some sort of will, something you've willed yourself, like I'm going to go this direction. But because of all these competing energies, what ends up happening is there's a death of the essence. And really a reclaiming of that essence, a reclaiming of the why would be what can break through and create this regrowth. I'm not sure what direction this one is in because it fell on the ground, but we have temperance. Oh, that makes sense. I'll have temperance in all different directions. This is bringing healing to this. And look at this image with, the goddess with all of the different arms. It feels very similar. It's a very similar image to this tree. And for one, I think one thing that I want to tell you is that you have the ability to accept all of these different parts of your life and parts of yourself and have a hand for all of them. There is a hand available for all of these things, even when you feel like you just have two, And I think that what matters is like almost like being able to create a dance with it so that it's a flow rather than multiple hands trying to grab different things. It's like they're unified together, and so they're flowing. Now, and you can see the difference here. Like here there are multiple bodies, here there's one with multiple hands, and these hands are all coming from the same place. That's the difference. So when we look back at the tree, remember, this is kind of our image of like reclaiming that essence and then sprouting from there. So I think it's that. I think it's finding, and this has been a theme lately too, like digging down deep and finding that deeper fire. And that is what like pulls you out and drives you and gives you energy towards all of these different directions. And it's accepting like, hey, you actually, you are needed in lots of different areas of your life, externally, and then internally, you have so many different facets of yourself. And I think that we are often pushed, not just encouraged, but pushed in like modern day to define ourselves. The idea of like an elevator speech, like be able to like sum yourself up really fast and say, I am this, I do this, And usually it's not I am this. Usually it's like, I do this. Like, oh, what do you do? That's the question, right? And this is saying, hey, but that's not your reality, and that's actually not anyone's authentic reality. And if someone starts living that, if they just live one role and don't accept all of the different facets of themselves, then it becomes one-dimensional. It doesn't become resonant. So it is important to accept all. And that's kind of what this reading is about too. So I'm so happy that came through with these cards. So let's keep going around. These are kind of in a cluster here. It's like we have them kind of stacked. So let's read this as a message together. We start with this card sideways, and it is the Lovers. Okay. So this is about, the word that's coming to mind is once again bridge, since we're talking about this being a bridge. Bridging the gap of two things. This makes sense with Gemini as well. Two different things and how they can work together, and how you need two separate, different things coming together and working together to create something new. That is just like natural law, So how can this happen in the most harmonious way? That's what I'm feeling so far. I want to see what the next cards are. We have the Moon in reverse. We have the Ten of Coins in reverse. And we have the Queen of Swords. It's interesting to me because we started with the King of Swords in reverse. And here we are about halfway. We're right across. And we have the Queen of Swords upright. And I see this as embracing a more receptive approach. It's like embodying this archetype instead. And in doing so, actually, we go back and we heal. And embracing, and we'll get into what this is, but embracing this side, we actually go back and we heal that King of Swords in reverse by embracing this Queen of Swords upright. And that makes sense too with the Lovers being sideways. It was probably, we'll have to go back and look, but maybe it was even pointed towards that King of Swords, That's really cool for like a Gemini spread to have those opposing energies on either side of each other. Okay, so we have the Moon in reverse and then the Ten of Coins in reverse. I'm seeing this once again as embracing. It's not just about all at once, everything that you hold in one moment and in yourself in one moment. It's also about how things flow over time, which I think was the message we got before. It was with the Moon, I'm thinking about cycles. And I'm thinking about tuning into that inner intuitive rhythm that mimics the rhythm of the earth, of the cosmos. And once again, with the Queen of Swords, that feminine energy, she's just as strong as the King of Swords. However, she's like embracing more so of this flow of change and of the movement up and down, sometimes being more above the surface, sometimes being more beneath the surface, and how that creates a more forgiving and beautiful, really, way of living. And the 10 of Coins reverse, I think, to me, I'm actually seeing this as giving up this idea of there being this end point of accomplishment, or like almost makes me think of like when people live their whole lives like almost like the life is a game and the goal is to gather as many points, which is like money, as possible. And in the end it's like, okay, well, what did you do? Like, you have a big, you've like gathered a lot of money, but like, what did you do with that? What did you do with that time? Which I think is why it's so important to get into that essence. But I think this is like giving up this idea of an end point and saying, hey, and this is also about perfection, right? Because if we're embracing perfectionism, then we're thinking, all right, in this period of time, we're going to be perfect. And there's an end point. Otherwise, you'll never, I think this is a lesson though, is like you'd never achieve it. You would never achieve perfection because there's always the future and you might screw up. You know what I mean? So like there's something that's never going to quite be satisfactory about this idea of perfection. So it's giving up the idea of an end point. And I would actually kind of also say, in a way, this is kind of giving up to putting a lot of weight on a starting point, but rather starting where you're at and just saying, like, I'm not waiting till tomorrow. I'm going to do what I can do today. If I screw up today, I'm going to kind of let that go. I had that experience the past couple days. So I feel like putting that into practice maybe helps me bring that message here. But it's not about having a perfect beginning and then a perfect end to something and having it in a perfect package, but rather it's about flowing each day and moving with your rhythms, with your cycles, and like doing the best that you can. I think there was even a message. Let me go back. I feel like there was something in the Pelican message as well. I am your need to let things unfold and take the best catch. It's not always going to be the same. It's not going to be mechanical. Let things flow and just try to make the best choice and the best decision that you can in each moment, Okay, so let's see what's up here at the top, our final cards. And they feel like they're almost like water falling down into the Pelican. So I'm not even sure exactly what order, this is the shape they are, what order to read them, because I almost want to start up here, but then also this one's on top. So let's just turn them all over. So we have the Two of Swords, and I don't really know if they're upright or reversed exactly. I think they could probably go either way, but we've got the Two of Swords, we've got the Tower, and we've got the Five of Coins. It feels to me like, especially with the Tower and the Five of Coins and the Two of Swords reverse also, I feel like this is like the parts of ourselves that we want to cut off and we don't want to accept and we don't want to integrate. And this spread is all about integration. And what I want to say is that I think the further you go on this journey, and that's why we end up here with this at the top, the farther you go into this journey going around, you are going to encounter this part. And a lot of people turn around here or before and don't want to kind of deal with this part. But this was a circle, right? So like this is always going to be a journey. There's not an end point. So we're always going to circle back to something like this. And what I want to say, the Tower, this feels to me like feels like fear of change. The Five of Coins feels like unworthiness. Feels like loss, feels like being left out in the cold. This feels like, things falling apart, like maybe failures in the past, and those parts of ourselves that create those failures in the past. What I want to say with this spread as a whole is that like, you don't have to cut out those parts of yourself. It's a part of you and it's a part of your journey. And there's a reason why you have those challenges. And it's not just about transforming the negative or overcoming the negative. It's also about integrating the negative and therefore raising it or freeing it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like this part of me needs to change, because guess what? Like, we can't really change stuff about us from the past, or at least I'm not exactly aware of a way to do that. We've had past failures. You can kind of see this better in that, like, okay, I'm looking at this past failure of mine, but I'm seeing how it got me to this other point. So I just accept that. I accept that part of myself. And guess what? In a way, you're like sending that love and forgiveness to that past version of yourself, which still exists within you, and your body still carries that. So if you can start maybe by doing that, like when things come up, it's like having that forgiveness and sending that love to those places, then more so will you be able to, in the moment, accept imperfections. And then we're kind of releasing this overwhelming inner critic that has been holding us back and getting in our own way. But rather we're embracing, like, even that part of ourselves, the part that is a critic. It's like, thank you for wanting the best for me and wanting me to contribute the best to the world. You know what I mean? There are reasons why we can accept all of the negative parts of ourselves and not be down on ourselves because of them, because then it actually just kind of creates the spiral down. Do you know what I mean? So I hope that this makes sense. I'm gonna read the message of the pelican one more time, the ending part of it at least, the affirmations, as we close this up. And it says, "You are positive and productive. You are effortless acquisition. You are abundant in resources. You are pelican." And being that pelican includes all of these things, you know? Happy full moon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Please like and subscribe. I will see you soon. I appreciate you all so much. And yeah, have a wonderful full moon.